Hola, mi amigos, and welcome to episode number 4 of There Is No Spoon podcast. My name is Steven, and I'm a transformative life coach. Join me right now for a bite-sized, deep dive exploration into how our minds work and a no-technique, one-step approach to reconnect with our innate well-being and our true nature. If you'd like to find out more about me and my coaching services, head on over to renegadelifecoach.com. Now, I've got to tell you, I'm excited about this episode, and I'm not the only one. Sitting here on my lap, curled up in a ball as I'm chatting with you, is one of our cats named Lily. And out of all the cats we've ever shared our house with, and there have been many of those, Lily has always been the most excited about the field of personal development and seems to always be on some sort of spiritual quest. Now, she's gone through several stages on her journey, and some have been a bit much. For example, she was a huge fan of the Personal Power program from Tony Robbins, and for years, every day when I would be leaving the house, she would remind me to live with passion. It got real old real quick. But wow, I'm already digressing, and I'm only a minute and a half into the podcast. Let me see if I can regroup here a bit. As you can see from the title of this episode, we're back to the F word. Actually, we've got 2 F words in this title, your fecal-colored feelings. You may have already caught on that my favorite part of podcasting is coming up with the titles. So, we're going to be chatting again about feelings, and just a bit about feces too, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Because these first several episodes have been building upon each other, I thought it might be a good idea to do a quick recap of where we've been so far, sort of a previously on There Is No Spoon podcast. However, I won't be slicing and dicing clips from past episodes, as that is well above my editing pay grade, which is volunteer. But here are the highlights. In episode 1, we introduced the inside-out understanding, the concept that effort to change externals, like bending a spoon, in an attempt to change internal states, might be a misunderstanding of how things work. We also gave a shout out to Connie Reeves. In episode 2, I shared my 3-decade journey through the personal development world and the toolbox full of techniques and methodologies that I acquired and their eventual shortcomings, and my personal experience and limitations with 10-step-ish programs. We also touched upon the idea that insightful understanding is often a one-step happening, and that our time together, if you continue to humor me, will be more explanatory in nature, how things work, instead of prescriptive, steps for you to do. And then in episode 3, we dug into the origin of feelings, where they come from, and equally important, where they don't, with the adult teddy bear metaphor. The bottom line, we are always experiencing the product of thought in the moment. Our feelings don't come from external circumstances, or from other people, or from our past, or from an anticipated future. They always and only come from our thoughts about those things. And so here we are at episode 4, and I'd like to ponder a bit more about both thoughts and feelings. At this point, it makes sense for most people to come to the conclusion that if the kind of thoughts we're having at any given moment determine the kinds of feelings that we're feeling, then why don't we just make sure that we're always having positive, happy thoughts? Now, we've all done the positive thinking programs, right? Actually, you might be surprised just how many different incarnations there are within this one genre. I've certainly used this strategy many, many times, and it can be somewhat effective, at least sometimes. But if you're anything like me, God help me if you're too much like me, you've noticed 2 things. Number 1, it doesn't always work, and it seems to fail when you most need it. And number 2, even when it does work, it can be a hell of a lot of work. It's like you need to employ the thought police. For me, it felt like a constant job, always having to monitor incoming thoughts. Here's a good thought, let's keep that one. Here's a neutral thought, but well, who really knows? It's likely going to be completely context dependent. And then there are the bad thoughts. You've got to keep those out, even though they are the ones that seem to be the most persistent. it can be exhausting because have you noticed that thoughts breed like freaking rabbits? Here are a few questions in regards to thoughts and feelings. Where do thoughts come from? Truth is, nobody really knows. Now, scientists will make up hypotheses because that's what they're paid to do, but they'll admit they don't really know. Thoughts seem to come out of the ether sometimes, don't they? Well, let's back up a moment. We all know where at least some of the great thoughts and ideas come from. The shower, or out in nature, or while you're exercising. And there is a common thread there that we'll be exploring in another episode. But what about the crazy thoughts? I mean, I've had several in that category already today, and it isn't even noon yet. Here's the thing. If we're going to attempt to control our thoughts, as in a positive thinking program, it seems that knowing their origin would be quite useful. And seeing that we don't, well, good luck with that program long term. Here's two other questions. What do feelings mean? And what should we do about our feelings? Feelings drive most of our behaviors, so knowing what they mean could be considered crucial information. Let's consider this analogy, that your thoughts at any moment are sunglasses of various colors, as in seeing the world through rose-colored glasses. What if your feelings only informed you of the color of your current thought glasses? Nothing more, nothing less. That would be the entirety of their meaning. For example, we've all woken up on some days wearing rose-colored glasses, right? A day when everything felt easy, even when it would normally be a pain in the ass. That annoying guy at work, he means well, and he's kind of cute even when he farts all the time. And then on the way home, you're stuck in gridlock traffic on the freeway. But with these glasses on, it occurs to you that it's a great time to call your mom and catch up. These are some nice glasses. But then we've also all woken up on the wrong side of the web, and we're wearing fecal colored glasses. I know you're wondering when we'd finally get to the feces part of the show. And these make everything look like, well, shite. I mean, you could be lovingly mobbed by golden retriever puppies and get pissed that they're still getting hair on your clothes. So, then feelings are a perfect indication of one thing and one thing only: the color of your current thinking glasses. They can't tell you a damn thing about you, anyone else, or the situation you find yourself in, or situations from the past, or about your future. It's just the glasses that you're currently wearing. And an important point here, have you noticed that you don't wear the same glasses all the time and that you switch them out quite frequently? 1 minute you're upset, and then 10 minutes later you feel better. Of course, you probably prefer to be wearing the rose-colored glasses over the fecal-colored ones, am I right? I mean, life is a bit more enjoyable that way. And that's exactly what I was trying to do for over 30 years. Figure out how to master emotional state manipulation. I thought if I could do that, I'd have freedom. All those techniques, tools, and tricks allowed me, usually, sometimes, to be able to change the color of the glasses that I was wearing. If I was feeling anxious and I wanted to instead feel confident, I would reframe this, EFT tap that, do some naked yoga or whatever, and voila, my glasses would be swapped out, upgraded. That felt like freedom. But then I got this inkling that being here and needing to be over there might not be freedom after all. Even though I was sure that having preferences was part of being human, having to have my preferences met right now, and the belief that there is somewhere better to be, as in a better emotional state, smelled like a cheap knockoff of freedom. Over time, I came to appreciate that it's not the ability to manipulate my states that is the origin of true freedom, but rather the simple awareness that I'm always just wearing glasses, and that I'll be wearing another pair sooner or later, usually sooner, whether I do any technique or not. And that is where the juice of authentic freedom is to be savored. Now, you may be questioning how I can say that simple awareness is as cool as being able to manipulate your states. What makes awareness so valuable? Fair enough. Here's an example from transformative coach and mentor Michael Neal. Let's say it's Saturday night, around midnight, and you happen to be in a college campus bar area of town. The chances are good that you're going to run across some drunk dudes. Let's say you've got two such dudes, about the same stature, same alcohol tolerance, same general intelligence, etc., and both are equally intoxicated. The only difference is that one of them knows he is drunk. He has awareness of his state, and the other one does not. Which one do you think is more dangerous? The drunk guy who knows he is drunk at least has the option of making an informed decision. He knows he's impaired, therefore, hopefully, will choose not to drive. This can literally be a life and death matter for himself and others. The other guy who lacks such awareness doesn't even have the option of making that choice. Awareness is so vital because it leads us towards and sets up the conditions for insightful understanding. Once we understand how things work, manipulating our emotional states loses much of its appeal and is often completely unnecessary because we begin to experience the same circumstances differently anyway. For example, if you were young enough when you first saw The Wizard of Oz, those flying blue monkeys likely scared the bejesus out of you, right? However, once you understood how movies and television work, that is, that it's really just light and shadows dancing on a screen, you no longer had any fear. You didn't need a methodology or a technique for that. The embodied, insightful understanding of how things worked was enough. Here's another fun example, this time from Clarity Coach Jamie Smart. Everyone right now, take your index finger and tap yourself on the forehead 5 to 10 times. Go ahead, do that right now. Is everybody okay with that? Nobody's freaking out, I assume. Good. Now, imagine instead that you're walking down the street on that Saturday night and one of those drunk college dudes approaches you and taps you on the forehead 10 times. Are you still cool with that? Most people tell me that they'd have much different feelings, like confusion, fear, anger. Why is this different? Well, it's because when you know that you're doing it to yourself, you tend to relax, knowing it's not coming from some outside source, knowing that you are the origin and not the victim. And as you start to get it, that is to say, move through your day spending more time within that understanding, your mind tends to relax. You get quiet, which sets the stage for further and deeper insights. Wow, I think that was enough for today. Until next time, keep in mind, there is no spoon. It's not spoons that bend, it's you. Be swell and stay bendy, my friends.